Fellas, AC here, welcome to another video. Now, some of you in the past have requested me for this video, and recently one of my very new subscribers, Alexander Wang, said to me if I could do a video of my favorite notes and one fragrance that represents that particular note really well. So I made a list of the notes that I really like, and I came up with a number of 35. So I said, all right, I'll do a 5-part series, yeah? 7 fragrances in each. So let's start with the first part. Now the favorite note number 1 that I picked, because it's summer and I'm a tea drinker and I quite like green tea. So I went with green tea as my favorite note, especially in summertime, because it has this beautiful, refreshing, satiating kind of a smell. And tea gives fragrance a lot of green depth, you know, and I think it has a lot of energy, the positive sort of vibe about itself. And there are many fragrances which do that note really well. So I went with one that I think does that green tea note absolutely beautifully. And it is, I've only got a decant of this one, and it is Guerlain Neroli Outrenoir. This fragrance is magic in a bottle. Absolutely beautiful, green, effervescent, full-on experience of what you would call a spring summer garden party, right? It's got amazing note of tea with a slight hint of sweet orange, along with neroli, which is the name, and orange blossom, petitgrain. I haven't reviewed this, I will review it. This is part of the Guerlain L'Art de Matière, Art of the Materials line, and all the fragrances that I've smelled in that line are just sublime, just beautiful. They're worth the money, they're expensive. But I tell you what, if you like green, full-on lush fragrances, try this, especially if you like the note of green tea. There's not a single fragrance which can beat the note of green tea when it comes to, modern perfumery. There are many more which have got, which have got different tea notes, but this one, the green tea, is outstanding. Okay, next favorite pick I went for is lavender. Now lavender is a very common note and it's used in many men's fragrances. So I thought, okay, this is summertime and lavender is a superb note for summer. So I went for something which is, acceptable to many people. Lavender is a note which can have different facets. So if you go down the route of classic lavender fragrances, they have this really harsh sort of tincture like smell. Then you got the sweet spectrum, which has got the lamal sort of corn on a cob kind of a smell. You got the middle path, and you have this lavender which is more herbal, more floral side, more effervescent, slightly powdery. So I went for a lavender fragrance which is more than 140 years old, about 140 years old. Some of you have guessed the name. It is Jicky Extrait by Guerlain. Now, actually, can't wait. Extrait. Man, this is lavender. This is lavender of the highest order. See, the thing is, Jicky was, I'll do a full review, but Jicky was basically made at a time when perfumery was just about 1 or 2 notes. And this fragrance brings about vanilla, civet, the famous Guerlain vanilla civet guerlinade with a very effervescent, bright and beautiful lavender, spicy lavender. Outstanding lavender fragrance, outstanding. But this is very expensive, so you have to think twice about, if you want to blind buy this. Go and test it in a Guerlain boutique if you can. Don't go for the EDT because EDT smells, this is very strong, smells a little bit dated, and I would say go for Jicky Extrait, because that will give you the biggest value for money. Now if you don't want to go for an Extrait, if you don't have the means, then this 1725 by Histoire de Parfum, Now this is one fragrance that I've reviewed. This is one fragrance that I would highly recommend on a business trip. It doesn't smell as nice in the evening, but I tell you, this is a outstanding fragrance. And this is one of those fragrances that will get you a compliment. You know, it's compared to Invasion Barbare, which I think is not right, but 1725 by itself is an outstanding lavender, vanilla, almond combination, which is just unbeatable. But the real deal is Jicky extrait. Oh yes. Next note, iris. Iris is one of my favorite notes. Why? Because I like my fragrances to be radiant. I like them to be opulent, radiant, bright, a bit like my personality. So I like iris, I really do. And I also like the way iris is used in many fragrances, different fragrances. For example, iris, most common note for iris is, accord for iris is powdery accord. And then that was the accord used in the classical fragrances. Then there is this lipsticky accord, which I really like. Then there's this green, sort of a carrot smell, like radiant, translucent smell, almost like a glycerin soap. I like all those accords. I really like iris. And I think the best iris accord I have smelled is Dior Homme Intense. This is a fragrance which uses the lipstick accord. And it uses the lipstick accord with greenness, with masculine charm, slight hint of leather. I've done a full review of this fragrance. And you should check out my full review. You should also check out, if you haven't already got this, I've done a full review of this one as well. This iris fragrance is what masculine, radiant fragrances should smell like. This is one of those fragrances which wins hearts. You know, this is one fragrance that a guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. This is amazing, amazing fragrance. When it comes to a real personality of a fragrance, this is one of those fragrances that is, you know, just confident, open, you know, extremely big-hearted. That's the kind of personality this fragrance has. It's just amazing. You know, the iris note is just amazing. So 3 gone, 4 to come. Next on my list is the note of oak moss. Now oak moss, unfortunately, has a sort of a problem, and that problem is some people, I think it's about 2% of the entire population of Europe, has been tested to have some sort of allergy to a couple of molecules in oak moss. So oak moss has been sort of regulated by IFRA, and only those 2 molecules. So a lot of fragrances from the 70s and 80s used oak moss to provide depth to the fragrance. It provides amazing depth, and it's really true. When you smell a vintage with proper oak moss in it, then you will realize that oak moss is actually a magical note. But unfortunately, many fragrances of today that use oak moss are discontinued or have been reformulated. So oak moss isn't oak moss. It's tree moss or whatever. I think tree moss is also regulated. So the best oak moss fragrance in the world, by many, and according to me as well, is this Guerlain Jicky extrait. Now, this is a chypre, and the oak moss here is very oily, right? And it takes a bit of time to mature, but the dry down is magical. But I didn't go for this. I didn't pick this one up because Jicky is a chypre. So I would like to pick it up as a chypre. But if I want real oak moss, the perfect oak moss, then I went for a 1970s vintage Chanel No. 19. Now I've recently reviewed this fragrance. This fragrance is the best example I can give you of 2 of the notes that are my favorite, iris and oak moss. This fragrance also has the most amazing note of galbanum, Iranian galbanum. One sniff will turn you into an oak moss fanatic. There are many other oak moss fragrances like Paco Rabanne pour Homme. I could have gone for them, but I went for the most artistic use of oak moss, galbanum and iris together. And oak moss being a green note this fragrance exemplifies the green aspects of oak moss. The most amazing green fragrance ever made, you know, but you have to go for the vintage. The current version is equally nice. There's a little hint of barbershop, some people say, because of oak moss, but I think this is unbeatable. Yeah, If you are one of those people like me who just want the best and only the best, hunt down a 70s vintage. Excuse me. You will not be disappointed. So done for three to come. Another note in my personal likes list is amber. Yeah, and I'll do an amber list later on. But amber basically has two facets. One is the ambergris, and I'm a real big fan of ambergris ever since I've smelled real white ambergris. Most cheap fragrances that say amber use grey ambergris. White ambergris is the most expensive ingredient known to mankind, and white ambergris in this fragrance is unbeatable. This thing is called Ambre Sultan by Serge Lutens. Sultan. Sultan is the Urdu word or the Arabic word for a reigning monarch, right? This fragrance is a reigning monarch when it comes to ambergris, real ambergris. This fragrance brings in, this also has the most amazing note of resin. Oh, this is the real deal, fellas. If you're looking for the most authentic and the most amazing, most amazing ambergris fragrance, look no further. Ambergris at its very best. I'll do a full review very soon, but the moment I sniff it, I'm just in a different world. You know, this fragrance has the most amazing depth, the aura of this fragrance, the spicy, deep, resinous, incensey ambergris I've ever smelled. Just, you know, different world, different category altogether. It's a masterpiece. It's rated as a masterpiece by many acclaimed noses. I think the same. This is the best ambergris fragrance you'll ever smell. So, Serge Lutens Ambre Sultan. Outstanding. Next is another Sultan. This one is Vetiver Sultan. Oh no, sorry, what is it called? Sultan Vetiver. Right? I've done the review of this fragrance. This in my opinion, too strong for summer. This in my opinion is the most outstanding Vetiver fragrance. I don't know why the cap's falling off. Come on, Nishane. Look at that. Come on. You can do better. Sultan Vetiver is the most amazing vetiver fragrance in this planet. And I'm saying this from a standpoint of owning more than 20 vetiver fragrances. I'll deal with the cap later on. And after owning more than 20 different vetiver fragrances, I've tried absolutely everything. And when it comes to vetiver, I can easily say that Sultan Vetiver has got the most amazing range. It's got 4 different types of vetiver notes. It's got leather tonka. It's got this seriously strong fragrance. So I don't want to smell it again because it's summertime. But I'll tell you, if you're interested in vetiver, proper vetiver, and you want to experience the whole range of what vetiver should smell like, Sultan Vetiver is your one-stop shop. If you can't afford, if this is unaffordable to you, then I highly recommend Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver, which I'm a massive fan of. But go for the EDT version because the EDT brings in that grassy, uplifting, sunny side of vetiver, which is outstanding. You know, one of the best vetiver fragrances I can say on a budget. And even if that's not affordable, then go for the Guerlain Vetiver Extreme or even Guerlain Vetiver. Although the performance is not that good and there's a note of tobacco there, which slightly interferes with the vetiver in loose sense of the word. It's a great fragrance, don't get me wrong. But yeah, those are 3. But this is what you should go for if you're serious about vetiver. Apart from the fact that this has got a dodgy cap. Okay, so last on the list is a fragrance that represents a note which is my absolute favorite. So my favorite note in Perfumery, all-time favorite, amongst those 35 notes, is sandalwood. Now, I own more than 15 sandalwood fragrances. You name a great sandalwood fragrance, I own it. And in fact, I've reviewed more than 10 sandalwood fragrances. The best sandalwood, I would say, is this by Guerlain. This is called Sacred Wood. It's a discontinued fragrance, highly expensive, but this smells really, really close to Mysore sandalwood. Now, Mysore sandalwood is extracted in different way. So the top note is extracted first, the middle and the bottom note are extracted separately rather. This fragrance smells like the actual smell profile of sandalwood, all three combined, and it's called L'Enfant Terrible by Jovoy. This fragrance, I've reviewed this fragrance. This is what sandalwood should smell like. It's a very, very spicy smell. So it's got cumin or caraway, and it's got nutmeg. So it's very spicy. And it's got notes of rose and sandalwood and dates. The most amazing note, dates combined with sandalwood. That fruity depth, the fleshy fruity depth with spicy sandalwood is magic. It's one of the most opulent fragrances in my collection. This is what you want in your collection if you are a sandalwood lover. Apart from the highly acclaimed, sandalwood fragrances, this fragrance doesn't get a lot of talk. But this gives me the most satisfaction when I'm in the mood for a very, very nice sandalwood. I'm telling you, this fragrance is absolutely unbeatable. L'Enfant Terrible. So I've done a full review of this one as well. So that's 7 done. Hope you enjoyed this review. And if you'd like to see a specific note, mention that in your comments. If I haven't got it in my list of 35, I'll see if I like it. And if I like it, I'll include it. So, hope you enjoyed the review, fellas. Take care. Bye-bye.